So the first thing I'd recommend before you shoot your first wedding is getting some experience shooting or assisting other photographers. Now there are so many photographers in this day and age wanting to get into the industry, which is fine, but it also means that established photographers receive a lot of requests to volunteer to second shoot. I know I get at least 2 a week, and so it's really overwhelming to deal with 100 requests a year for second shooters, and especially when you don't have any relationship with the second shooter. It's just kind of like a cold email instead of like a cold call, cold email. And so you don't know, like, who is this person? How can I trust them to come with me on a paying wedding day? So naturally, I tend to choose from second shooters that I know or have worked with in the past. But how do you get your foot in the door? I would recommend emailing a photographer and offering to take them out for lunch for their time and just to get to know them a little bit. And this is really going to set you apart from the crowd, because if I got an email with somebody saying what's a convenient restaurant for you and what's a convenient time and I'd love to treat you to lunch, I've had this happen to me in the past, although it honestly is really rare. It's usually like, love to grab coffee or can I second shoot with you? And unfortunately, established photographers, we're busy, and so we're not really looking to, like, say drive to the city if we don't live in the city and just meet for coffee. And like, this is gonna sound bad, but like, what's in it for us? Like, that's not that we really feel that way. But if I have a photographer who comes to me and says, what's the closest restaurant to your house and can I take you out for lunch? I'm like, sure, yeah, I can give you 45 minutes of my time, and it's awesome. And I've met some like great photographers and great friends through that. So that would be great with no expectation. Just like hang out with a photographer, pay for the lunch, maybe even do it a couple times later, a few months later. And if they have a second shooter say back out for a certain date, they might call you because they know you, they trust you. Awesome. So that's a tip on getting your foot in the door. So before the wedding day, you're going to want to make sure that you have all of your timeline details and you have addresses and you have contact information. So do you have a phone number for the bride and groom? Do you have a phone number for, say, like the maid of honor or a groomsman? Sometimes the bride and groom won't have their phones on them, and rightfully so, as they're getting ready for the wedding. Do you have the addresses of everywhere you're going and a GPS either on your phone or standalone GPS to get there? And do you know what time you're showing up and what time you're leaving? The third thing I'd recommend is bringing an assistant or a second shooter with you. If you don't know any second shooters, like other photographers that can come with you, just an assistant to help you on the day of will be so helpful. They can have, say, the family photo list, they can have the timeline, they can even manage the GPS while you're driving between locations. That'll be really handy, and you'll feel like you're not just going it alone. I did my first wedding alone, and looking back, I wish that I had an assistant that first year and had invested just a small amount of money to have somebody come with me. The next thing you'll want is backup equipment. It's not enough just to have a nice camera and a nice flash. Although I've never had a camera break down at a wedding, it's really important that you always have backup equipment, because you don't want your first wedding or your 10th wedding or your 100th wedding to be the first wedding that happens and you don't have a backup camera. So no matter what you're doing, have a backup camera with you at the ceremony site, because that's the other thing. It's not enough that it's in your car. Say the bride's walking down the aisle and your camera breaks. You need to know that you can run to the back where your bag is seated, grab the other body, and you're good to go, and you can keep shooting. Same thing with flashes. Make sure you have a backup flash. So at minimum, you should have 2 camera bodies and 2 camera flashes, and then a variety of lenses as well. Obviously, when you're starting out, you don't need the highest quality lenses. It's just not possible. You need, I think I have $30,000 worth of equipment, and I didn't have that when I started my first year. It was probably $4,000 of equipment, but you need to at least have something so you have all your bases covered. And make sure you have enough memory cards to capture the day, which if you're shooting raw will probably be somewhere around 40 gigabytes, if not 60 gigabytes of memory. And then also plenty of batteries, so you definitely don't need to be recharging anything on the day of. Same goes for AA batteries for your flashes. You need to have lots of those, more than you think you need. Another note on that, if you're looking for a checklist to use before you pack for the wedding, if you go to my blog, jamiedelanneblog.com, on the sidebar you'll see a little icon that says, click here to download my free pre-wedding checklist. So I created this as a resource, so when I'm packing for weddings, I don't need to think, do I have extra batteries? Did I remember my battery charger? All these different things, you can just check it off. So that's free for you, a free resource if you'd like to go there and download that. The next thing I'd recommend is location scouting. This is something that I did all the time when I was first starting to shoot, because you're really unfamiliar with locations, you might be more nervous because you're starting out, you just have less experience. So it's really helpful to talk to the bride and groom about where they'd like to take their photos, and then go to that place beforehand, even like a week before, 2 weeks before, whenever, just any time before the wedding day. And if possible, it's wonderful to go at the same time you'll be taking photos on the wedding day. Then you can see what the light is doing. Sometimes there'll be great locations, but if the sun is shining right into the couple's face, it's not going to be an ideal photo. But if you're visiting at 7 p.m. in June and the light's really soft and beautiful, you can know which direction to face. So that's a really helpful thing. The next thing would be pre-visualizing which kind of shots you want to take. So you're going to show up to this wedding day, your first wedding, and the couple's going to look at you and they're going to be like, so what do we do? And if you just are like, well, just hang out or talk to one another, it's just not going to fly. You need to have some ideas of what you want to tell them to do. So that might mean browsing through Pinterest for a couple hours and creating some boards and some inspiration. It might mean browsing wedding photography blogs or just portrait blogs or fashion blogs, whatever you're inspired by. Compiling all these images that you can look through and refresh, okay, these are some poses that I like, and thinking, if this is a pose that I like, how am I gonna get my couple into that pose? So what would I say? So I'm gonna have Angela, you're gonna look this way, and then Robert, I'm gonna have you come in right beside Angela and you're gonna hug her around her waist. What kind of words are you gonna explain to get them into those poses? My final tip would be to make a shot list for yourself. Now, I don't work with shot lists anymore, but it is really helpful in your first couple years of doing weddings. Things like, oh, I need a boutonniere shot. I need a shot of just the bride's bouquet. I need a shot of just the bride and each bridesmaid. Those things that you think in the flurry of the day you might forget, make yourself a little shot list on your iPhone, and then you can just delete or make a little X next to the shots as you take them. So I hope these tips are really helpful for you. If you're watching this video and you're preparing to shoot your first wedding, first of all, I'm so excited for you. You're gonna love it. It's a crazy journey and you're gonna have a great time. You just gotta remember to have fun, and if you have done everything in this video, you're gonna show up prepared and excited and you're gonna create awesome images. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate it.